I'll put this up because I'm going to talk about how everything you know is wrong. You ready? No. I'm going to bestride the stage for this one. I'm ready. When medical students start their course, the lecturer often tells them, in 10 years' time, 50% of what they've learned on the course will be wrong. I can do better. In 5 minutes' time, everything you have learned in your life so far will be wrong. Let's start with the dawn of consciousness. We probably sat and watched the setting sun going down night after night and thought, there must be thousands of those suns over the horizon, until one bright spark said, no, wait a minute, perhaps there's only one sun and it's revolving around the Earth, which is at the centre of everything. Well, it must be, mustn't it? Because, the Earth doesn't move. And when you look up at the sky, everything else is moving around us. And by the way, it's a myth that anyone ever thought that the Earth was flat. Nobody was that ignorant. But then along came Copernicus, and through careful observation he discovered that actually, no, the Earth is revolving around the sun, which meant that a theory had to be amended, which is how science is supposed to work. But in his day there was one slight problem. The spreading of knowledge was very slow. This was largely due to the fact that most knowledge was contained in books, which were handmade and copied from other books. So if there was an error in the original book, it merely got duplicated over the ages. The invention of the printing press merely speeded this up. For example, the iron content of spinach was misreported when the typesetters put the decimal point in the wrong place. By the time the error was discovered, the information had escaped into modern folklore. And history is a lot like spinach in that people have a false idea about it. If a ruler won a battle because they were less stupid than their opponent or had dumb luck, they would actually report the battle as if they were somehow superior and wiser than their opponent. This idea was so good that all leaders decided to use it, but propaganda is not interested in expanding knowledge, only in controlling information and influencing those people who receive the information. And so verifying any facts is incredibly difficult, as competing stories will demonstrate. And this assumes that everyone involved in trying to tell the story is being as honest and as objective as they possibly can. And as we know, some news outlets don't give a toss about honesty. For example, take the fact of your age. Now, your bodily cells are replaced in their entirety every 7 years. Does that mean you can only be 7 years old? But the molecules that make up the cells are billions of years old. So are you as old as the stars? The laws of physics break down at the quantum level. Solid matter is more space than solid by a factor of thousands. And merely observing an event at the quantum level alters it. So how can science be objective? And it would appear that our universe is expanding at an accelerating rate. With our current level of knowledge, this means that 90% of the universe is unaccounted for. We call it dark matter, but we might as well call it no freaking idea. So I'll bring you back to Copernicus, because I don't know if he ever existed. I'm told he did by books and by teachers, but as we have seen, they can often be wrong. And all the information I've given to you in this presentation is based on these sources. So what can we trust? Well, surely we can trust our eyesight. Look at the squares marked A and B. A is obviously darker than B. But our brains make stuff up. Our eyesight has a blind spot which we don't see because our brain fills in the missing information. In reality, squares A and B are exactly the same colour. It's the way our eyes see patterns that fool us. And even as we're presented with the evidence, our brain attempts to adjust for the illusion. So what are we left with? Just ideas and philosophy? Probably. But that assumes that our brains are in charge of our bodies. What if our bodies are in charge of our brains and instructs the brain to achieve whatever objective the body wants? I mean, you ask any woman why she needs to buy a pair of impractical shoes and her brain will come up with many reasons, some of which might even make sense. But in reality, her body has decided and merely instructs her brain to achieve the objective, which means we have no free will. Some of you will see this woman rotating in a clockwise direction, and others of you will see her rotating in an anti-clockwise one. Now, is that you deciding, or is it just the materialistic way your neurons are put together, producing a predetermined result? So we can see that the more we discover about the world, the more complex it becomes. And if we extrapolate from this position, we can see that eventually we will come to know that we understand absolutely nothing about the world. So ironically, the more intelligent you are, the more doubtful you are of your own reality. So I'll leave you with a quote from Gloria Steinem. The truth will set you free, but first, it will piss you off. Thanks very much.